Hey, Clean Nation, Mike Campion here with the lovely, the amazing Caitlin Fuessel. This young lady started I'm not sure, some fancy diamond cleaning service in Dallas, Texas, serving residential, not commercial. Started at 18 years old in 2019. So 7 years ago, y'all can do the math. She's still young. I think I've had Caitlin on before. The reason we're having her on today specifically is not just her general awesomeness, it's for her specific awesomeness. She's been a client for a minute. And I still remember in 2025, I'm so proud of her because her marketing and her hiring, just all the stuff got better. And I was going over stuff and it wasn't better, or like globally there was a problem. And we identified, because she does such a great job tracking, it was churn. It was clients leaving. So she did an amazing job marketing. Maybe if there's a bunch of people asking, we'll have you on just for the marketing, because I think you added, I don't know, 6 figures in recurring revenue for sure. And she lost the same amount. The crazy part is, I think the churn was like 9%, 8%. You tell me, Caitlin.
It was between 8 and 11.
Okay, so we'll call it 10 just for round numbers, but that's per month, right? So that's churning a whole gosh darn business. And honestly, we coach at 3% per month, and you get to 4 or 5. It's not great, but we're going to keep an eye. Anything above that's bad. But the crazy thing is, when you're Caitlin's size, you got lots of clients. Losing 10% or 8% of your clients feels versus 6% versus 3% in a given month. You would kind of feel like, oh my gosh, if I lost that much, it just feels like everybody's upset and everybody's leaving, which would be good, because then you get signal, right? You get, oh my gosh, there's a problem I need to solve. In the end, it's not 10% every month. She might have a 3% month and then a 17% month and then a 6% month. So it feels sporadic. So I'm saying my perspective, and Caitlin, you want to definitely dive into how you felt and what you did, because this month's looking a lot better. We'll put it that way. I don't want to give away the surprise. But for me, I know, having had lots of different businesses with recurring clients, because we love recurring revenue, if you don't track the numbers, it can feel bad some months. But again, if your goal is 3% and you hit a 6% month, you don't even feel it. You get a 15, you're like, or 20, you might freak out for that month, but then life gets busy and whichever. So the big thing I'll say as a coach, and this will be my adult statement, and then we'll have fun and let Caitlin share her story, is tracking is so important, right? I've been coaching for a decade. I've owned businesses for 30 years. Had Caitlin and I just talked for 30 minutes, but I couldn't get her data. And she just kind of told me her experience of everything. For 30 minutes, I don't know that I could have got to the bottom of it. But just looking at the stuff we track for you guys out there, we have a financial tab, a hiring tab, a marketing tab, customer profitability tab, churn tab. There's a couple others, but those are the big ones. When I just had those in 3 minutes, especially when I had all of the 2025 data in one place, clear as a goddamn bell. It was just obvious. So that's my rant and coaching of please, pretty please, track your stuff, know what to track it, look at it, all that good stuff. Made it super easy. Okay, so that's my nerd guy coach side of the experience. Please walk us through, as the owner, Caitlin, kind of what 2025 felt like for you in the moment, and then kind of what the discovery felt like, and then what you've done since. So just walk us through the whole thing.
Yeah, so 2025 was really interesting because I was also dealing with some health challenges. So I knew I wasn't on top of my game in the perspective of keeping everything going, but I just remember ending 2025 and just having this feeling of I'm not where I wanted to be. And I couldn't figure out why, because like you said, marketing was going so well, hiring and core values, and just generally my customers were really happy, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I just knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I do remember sending you that message going, I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. And I don't want to keep going like this. I want to figure it out. We always think about year-end recaps, and I didn't quite feel proud of myself at the end of last year. It was this, I worked so hard, I didn't feel great. And then it's man, it just wasn't where I wanted it to be. So sending you that message, you quickly realized what it was. And then I can tie back now. It was one of my main problems coming into the program, realizing I verbalized it saying, my business is not growing. I couldn't get past this revenue level. But now I realize I've been dealing with churn this whole time and just didn't know what it was. And it took a year-end review to recognize what the deal was.
So one of the many things I love about Caitlin is just her owning it. We have lots of clients, everyone's built different. Some have a lot of pointing outwards. Well, it's that guy or the economy or no one wants to work or this guy screwed me. It's always someone else's fault, which feels better than it's your fault, but real tough when you want to fix it. Because if it's that guy's fault, well, how am I supposed to fix it? And one of the things I love about you, Caitlin, is you're always looking at what you can do, right? Because you're right or we're right. Sometimes the economy's this or Trump's doing that or whatever. Clients, whoever knows, there's 1,000 things and they have something to do with reality. It's not just we're making them up. But at the end of the day, we can't control any of that anyway, right? So I love that Caitlin's always owning it. That said, I'm going to give you a little more credit than I think you're taking yourself. And that's why I love having these conversations because I kind of see it globally as a coach and you see it feeling it differently from the inside. I see it as a little different in that there was some churn throughout, but you had, just to give you credit where credit's due, I'll hold you accountable. You know me, I'll tell you what time it is, but I think you're great at accepting where you can improve, but then you kind of trip over a little quickly some of the stuff you did right. And you forget to be like, hey, Caitlin really, she's not a complete moron over here. So let me give the full picture and then we'll talk about how you changed it. So first of all, there's three things. One is I'm just lazy and don't feel like doing it. That we're going to hold you accountable. That's where we have the most. Two is real life circumstances. And again, there's always, whoever's in whatever excuse. And then there's kind of stuff that's more real, like my husband left me or, and then third is physical. Like my body is actually only capable of doing the things that it was doing. Right. So I want to encourage you. Well, let me start at the beginning. First and foremost, when you came in, I remember you had 3 or 4 things that were all kind of striving to get fixed. And just so everyone knows, it's not like Caitlin had a bad year. You had a great year. Mm-hmm. Things got better, but I know your revenue kind of stayed the same, whereas it should have doubled. And your profit, I think, went up, but not as much as it should be. And your work went way down. I get your goals, and I'm same thing. I'm pissed off, like, oh, we left so much meat on it. It could have been so much better. But my big thing when we have clients, which you get the number of clients we do, there's always going to be a subset, not just one, a group of people that their health or their personal, just something's going on where they're not able to be there. And to me, I think, well, that's a test of the business when you can be sick and be like, hey, I'm either in the hospital or just not present for weeks at a time, sometimes months, and the business stays the same. You're like, hey, it didn't grow. I'm like, I know, but Jiminy Christmas, lady, like if you had a job, like that would have been, the income would have just stopped, presumably. So want to give credit where credit is due. I think the work that you did prior made it so churn could be the only thing.
Yes.
I don't think that was the only thing when you started. It's just we kind of got the core values going and your numbers going and the tracking going and we got all that stuff working. And then we've got this one thing. It's like, all right, I'm dying to 2026 is looking different. Okay, so that's just my perspective of the big picture. Let's walk through once we identify like okay. And first of all, everyone out there, step one, which we're going to take for granted. I don't want you to take for granted. Is she tracked it, right? Like we have a churn tracker. You can go online, if you're not one of our clients, go online. You can figure it out. It's not magic. Ours is fancy, but you can build a fancy one. Please don't feel like, well, if Mike doesn't give me his, if I'm not inclined to grow my cleaning company, I'm not going to track churn. That's nutballs. We try and make it easy, but still, like, please, pretty please track churn. So the first thing is it's got to be tracked. Second thing is the reason Caitlin and I are both able to speak so confidently in our company is we tracked all of it. So if I just had our churn number, I would go, I know this is a problem, but what about profit? What about there's so many other things that, like, is it the number 1 problem or is it the number like, is it one of 12? There's nowhere to contextualize it. So please make sure, just big picture, financials, when it comes to cleaning company, revenue, cost of goods sold, expenses, profit, really profit. If that's 25%, we coach to 30, but 25% or over, you're probably pretty good. If not, we want to double click in there and check out revenue, cost of goods sold, expenses, marketing. If you're growing at the pace that you want to grow, good. If you're not, we need to talk, or churn, right? Because you can market well and have them leave the back door, or you can market poorly and no one leave, or, so just marketing and customers is on one side. And the last piece is hiring, right? If you get those correct, your financials are right, your hiring's right, your marketing's right, your churn's right. Those are generally the things that you got to get in line. So Caitlin, we're assuming that she had all that. And that was, so if you don't have that, don't start where Caitlin started, go back to make sure you're working on the right problem. And I'll just tell you, for residential, if your churn's over 3%, it should be on the list, right? Is it number 1 or 4? I don't know. We'd have to look at your numbers together to get a clear picture, but it's on the list. It's top 5 for sure. For residential, it should be a little lower. They tend to churn a little less. We go for like 2% a month. So actually, sometimes it'd be like 1, like depending on your commercial, it could be lower, but residential really 3%. Okay. So that's big picture. Once we kind of as a team working together had the clarity of, okay, we know. And the cool thing was we were able to look at everything else, go, this is it. Like, it's a big problem. It's not like 5% when it should be 3. It's like 10 when it should be 3. It's a big gosh darn problem. Not that everything's perfect in your business, but everything else is green, really green, pale green. It's green, and then churn's hard red. You
Exactly.
don't have any yellows, and you only have one red. So how did that? Let's just talk about how did it feel. Like, did you get it right away? Did you fight it internally, and then yeah, just walk me through the whole thing.
I think it was a little bit of I knew immediately, but I also like it's not like I didn't know churn was somewhat of a problem. I just don't think I maybe fully believed it was the full problem because I think part of the issue with churn is you do have that feeling of, but people are happy.
Mhm.
And especially in my situation with marketing doing so well, it didn't register to me that that really could be the problem. So I think I was maybe even a little frustrated when we figured that out because I was like, I see it, but I also don't fully get it. So it took a little bit of time and working through. So we realized that basically in December and working through January, February, and March, it really took till seeing the results of end of March to go, okay, I believe this now. And I see the results, and it became a little more exciting through most of March. Because, yeah, I finished March with a 3% churn, and that's the lowest it has ever been since I started tracking, in the last couple of years. So that was incredibly exciting.
This is where I want to jump in and go, yeah, because me and my team are amazing, but I have to tell the truth and go, I'm so proud of you, Caitlin. I love being able to say it publicly that December, I think you're still dealing with some health issues. So I think January, we kind of hit it halfway because I think you're still dealing with a little. And then February, you were like, I don't say all in, but physically able to be at least 80%. Yeah. So it sounds like, gosh, 3 months is a lot. It's like, I call it a month and a half of real Caitlin available. A couple of things I want to say based on what you said. One, I love that Caitlin does, and I want to encourage all of you guys. She paid the price first when it didn't feel very good and got nothing in return. So, and a lot of people go, oh, this doesn't work, Mike. I did everything you told me to do for 6 seconds and nothing's changed. It's like, yeah, but I didn't tell you to do it for 6 seconds. And especially churn. There's some things like marketing, just some things can happen quickly. Some things take a little longer. Problem with churn is most everything, all the financials we talked about, we either look at it in weeks and months. Churns, we kind of look at it quarters, and 6 months is even better because you can have a good churn month and it be lucky, not often on the good side. And you can have a bad one and it can be unlucky. So that's why we look at like what were your last 3 and 6 months. So churn's one of the most frustrating ones because you do all the work now and often we'll see fairly quick results, but it takes 2 or 3 months to know that like they stuck, like they're real. So just want to encourage everybody on that. And I didn't realize it till you said it, you had a kind of nasty little thing in that you had happy customers and you were good at marketing. So luckily or unluckily, depending on your perspective, you were able to ignore churn because if your customers were pissed all the time, you would have noticed. If your marketing wasn't crushing, you would have noticed I'm shrinking. But because you had happy customers, and again, when I say happy customers, they didn't stay. So I'm not saying everything was perfect, but there's one when they're like, Caitlin, you suck at your job. I hate you. 1 star. Do not recommend. Versus the nice customers that are like, hey, we just can't afford it. And there was really not that 0% couldn't afford it, but I promise you 10% a month, it wasn't that. So you had nice customers that you're doing, I don't say good enough, but close to good enough where they weren't, you had some good things superficially, but they hid the problem. That's why I'm constantly screaming, data, not drama, because the feelings we're doing fine. We're growing some months and then kind of staying steady some months. But when you step back, there was a problem. All right. So thank you for sharing all that. The blessing was a curse. Your happy customers and your great marketing allowed you to ignore the churn until we had to look at it and go, holy heck, it's not like anything went terrible the last year, but boy, oh boy, could have it gone phenomenal. And it just went good. Okay. So that is super helpful. So what did you do? And how did the steps feel? What worked better? Feel free to be like, here's what Mike told me to do. Here's what I did. Here's what sucked. Here's what was great. Like lay it on, give us the honest truth here.
I would definitely would say I have the philosophy of I am going to listen. So when we would talk through things, I'm like, okay, I will commit to do these because obviously what I was doing was not working. So a lot of it was I had a customer happiness manager in the role that was obviously not the right fit. She was a wonderful person, a great family friend, but she was not right for the role.
All
So
right. So real quick, because I've been
we
so
had
kind
a
to you,
hard
now
conversation
I'm going to
on
pick
that.
on you because I'm like, you're not skating on
Mike
that
made
girl.
me cry, y'all.
Oh, I didn't mean to. I hope my wife doesn't hear this. She's like, see, you're a big meanie. You need to be softer with people. I do remember this
Yeah,
conversation. I
yeah,
didn't mean it to be devastating, but it kind of was
but
because it
it
was on a
was
group call. And I was, of course, nothing but love in
30
my heart.
people.
Yeah, it just came out honest. And when I said, like, oh,
Yep.
that sounds kind of harsh, but it was just the
Yep.
truth. So Caitlin said very much the same thing she said now with one key difference. So what she said now was she's a great lady. She's a good friend. She's a kind person. She try hard. I don't know this woman, so I'm assuming those are all true. Why wouldn't they be, right? But she obviously wasn't a fit. And she finished it on the call with, and she's doing a great job. And I just said, no, she's not. And Caitlin, I forget what you exactly said, but a reasonable thing of like, how would you know? Like, you don't even like, that's a bold statement for some jerk that's not in my business. I'm like, because your goddamn churn's at 10%.
Yeah.
That's how I know. So
Yeah.
again, data, not drama. The drama says, great lady. And again, I'm sure those are all true, right? It's like,
Yeah.
if we're hiring her for friend or babysitter or, I don't know, whatever skill she's got, she would be great for that. But when it comes to customer happiness manager and our churn is at 10% a month, we just know. So
Yeah.
love you, girl. Thanks for putting up
That
with me.
was that was definitely a key moment where it was like, okay, I've got to do the hard thing. And we had that call, and I think I talked with her the next day. Like it was really quick.
So
And because I
before
knew
that
it was
call, did you
right.
have a gut feeling she was wrong, or was it a complete surprise when we talked about that?
No, I was starting to suspect, but also when at that point in December, like my revenue was going down, and because I didn't feel well, like cash flow was getting really tight, and I was like, I don't know if I can afford her. I don't know if I can keep her. So I think I brought it up from that standpoint of, this is a big expense. What should I do there? And then you brought up like basically performance, and that's where that came in.
Okay, so yeah, it's frustrating because other things were going well. I didn't have to pay attention to it until I got sick and other things because I think you'd actually just turned off your marketing for that
I did.
month. Yeah, so it's not like your marketing stopped. Well, I mean, it did stop
It
working,
did
but
stop.
you turned it
Yeah.
off. I mean, it wasn't like you had a bad month. Like it was just because sometimes that happens where two or three things just by the luck of the draw kind of converge. But this was I got sick, so I intentionally turned off the marketing. So you kind of shut down one of your shields that enabled you to not see
Mhm.
what was happening, and then you got a clear picture. And of course, when you're sick, that doesn't feel very good. So yeah, it's funny that you came going, I think I can't afford to pay her salary. And we're like, I think I can't afford to,
Yeah.
keep a 10% churn. Okay. Not perfect, but clear. So great job on that conversation. I should say that conversation on taking action, even though it didn't feel good. And I promise you, there are dozens, if not hundreds of people listening right now that have maybe not a customer happiness manager, but a person that's been there a long time. They love them. They're good people. They're friends. And they're going, oh boy, this podcast just got real uncomfortable. This video
Yeah.
just got real uncomfortable because I know I have to have that conversation. Anything you would say to them? Because you kind of got to the point where you're like, well, I can do it on my own accord today, or I'll probably have to do it not on my own accord in a month. I'll just do it now. Anything you'd say to someone that's maybe 2 or 3 months out to do it, to not wait until they're in the position you were in where it was kind of like, I don't really have a choice.
I think we want to delay the uncomfortable. So, yes, it will be uncomfortable. It's just how uncomfortable. And so now on the other side of this, I would definitely say do it now and not later. That is a hard thing to like do, but sometimes we just have to like put on our big girl pants and just do it because we know it's right. So,
In real talk, I mean, so first of all, what most people will do is when they know they get it in their gut, like, so I'm pretty sure
yeah,
that conversation we had, you were that
it
day, you
did.
were like, okay, now I know. Most people will wait a week or 2 weeks and they're just miserable the whole time. And I get it if it gets easier the longer you wait. It doesn't. It would have been just as hard the next day or whatever, but it's just how long do I want to suffer? So God bless you for doing the next for her and for you and for
Yeah.
everybody. Like it wasn't like she wants to be in this position where she's failing.
Yeah.
So good job on shortening the distance between when you knew and when you did. What did you expect just for people? And again, this is Caitlin. You might results may vary. You might have a better experience. You might have a worse. I don't even know how this particular conversation went, but I'm sure you had some expectations about how it was going to feel and how she was going to respond and how bad it was going to be. What did you think was going to happen? And I'm asking this having I just know it happened, but I don't know how it
Yeah.
felt. And then how did it go better, worse? Like walk us through expectations versus reality.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is you did hold me accountable. I think at the end of that, when I finished wiping my tears, you were like, will you do it? Will you do it by the end of the week? And I said yes. And I knew when I said yes that I would.
In
And
front
then,
of me and others. This wasn't just she and I. We
yes,
were on a group call. Yeah.
in front of everyone. And I said, I will do it. And then my expectations were I knew it would go well. I knew that she wasn't gonna like scream and yell at me just because of the person that she was. I think it was harder for me than it was her because in the end she just said, "You're right. I don't think I was right for the role either." I think it was a little more challenging than what she expected. And so we left it as, this was the right call, and we both knew that. So I think it's very interesting. One of the things that you do say, Mike, is when we fire someone, or maybe you or Suzanne, of just like let them find something that they're happy doing, and they will be happier on the other side. And that's what's happened because, like I said, she's a family friend, and I know for a fact that she's, doing well. So,
Yeah. So it's almost sometimes selfish when we're like, I don't want to have this difficult
yeah.
conversation. And it's one thing when we're willing to pay the price on our own self for that. It's another when we make our whole company pay the price. And it's a third when we make that person pay the price because they're not mature enough or clear headed enough to quit. We kind of got to be the adult. So great job on that. Cool. So what, and last thing I'll say, and I want to have Caitlin share the end of the story, like, cool, now what happened? But to be fair to her, I don't think she's the right fit. And obviously, if she's somewhere else and she agreed, like, that's probably it. But there, we always want to own what we can own. It was another situation of Caitlin didn't give her the training that she really needed.
Mhm.
And even if and this is where it is kind of crappy and we have to be big boy and big
Mhm.
girls, even if she did have the potential and she could have been rehabilitated, so to speak, I found that almost never happens because what happens is if she's doing the job, Caitlin can't really fix it because you've got your life, you've got your escape hatch, right? Is her. So it was really important to you to make that happen either way because you were never going to really figure that job out with her in the way. You had to be like direct, which is what you did. But I just wanted to make sure people got that picture of you couldn't have, I shouldn't say you couldn't have, but it would have been wildly unlikely for you to get the results you had with her kind of, you trying to drag her along.
Not to interrupt you, but one of the
Please.
things that you've said to me in this process is how can we expect to hand over responsibility to a $20 an hour worker and have them figure it out when they're just making $20 an hour and we don't know what to do, so we just hand it over and we're the owners and we have everything invested in our business and we just say, "Hey, here, figure it out." And so once I was able to remove her and like fully go through, no, I didn't have any SOP set up. No, I really didn't know what was being done every day or, for the 15, 20 hours a week that it needed. So it wasn't fair to her or myself and my customers to, not have a clear role in that.
We kind of have three stages, maybe four. So step one, just identifying what the real problem is and what the first real problem is that we really got to get check. Step two was, making the decision to do it. Step three was having that conversation, the hard conversation. And there's often a hard conversation. And then step four was what everyone would be afraid of. Well, not only do I not want to have that conversation when she's gone, now it's going to get even worse. I have to do it. I'm terrified. Same thing. How did you feel it was going to be when you took over? How scared were you? And then how has it been in reality?
I would say I was pretty nervous when I took it over because I didn't really know how to solve the problem. And I'm pretty young, so I count it to that. I don't think I've ever run into a challenge that I've had to like persevere and focus this long on to
By
solve.
the way, old man Campion is going to be like 3 months.
I
if,
know.
if this is the longest thing you have to persevere, you got a good life, girlfriend.
Yeah, I have. And I'm like, I was nervous because I didn't really know what to expect. And I really had to fight through like the mindset of this is going to be hard or, harder than it should be.
So
But
fear on a 1 to 10, like 10 being I was terrified, one being it was nothing.
I was probably like a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was pretty nervous and to take it over. But now here I am on the other side and I would never lie to someone and say it wasn't a lot like it wasn't hard or a lot of work, but it has been worth it. Like obviously 100%.
So that's a really good answer. So how long? Because there's two parts, and I'll tell you what I pictured. You can tell me if I picture it right. You're like, nope, Mike. If you lived it, it was very different. I pictured the actual physical work. If you just counted the real what you were doing, because you said you didn't know, but we had a plan. It's not like you're just
Yeah.
guessing. We had a plan, and you were probably like, I wasn't confident it was going to work because I hadn't seen it, but yeah, so you weren't guessing, which is helpful. But the work I saw you doing or that we'd agreed or kind of gave you to do, I saw really only taking about 5 hours a week. And again, you can correct me 100% if you're like, you are out of your mind. But the heaviness or you know what I'm saying? Like the stress
Yes.
would be outsized. Like it wasn't 5 hours of stress. It was more than that. But so yeah, how much was it with stress? How long did it last? Was it a week? Was it a month? Like the actual, like walk us through that in terms of actual work and actual how you experienced it.
Okay, that's great. I would definitely say I was probably 5 to 7 hours a week,
Okay.
because I was trying to invest a lot of time and focus on this. And like you said, the stress definitely outweighed those few hours. That stress really didn't change until I saw my March numbers, and that gave me just a little, maybe like the hope and the confidence that, okay, if we just keep going, like I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that changed a lot, and it was a big relief once I saw the change and the impact that it was having.
So last question, and then I'll let you kind of end or give the audience anything you feel would be helpful. My last question is the most important one for people listening. When we had talked, and I think your brain was understanding, if I do these things, I'll get a good result. I don't think you didn't believe it and just gutted through it, but your heart, I'm guessing, was screaming, no, this is never gonna change. You're gonna like, why are just, I'm sure telling you a bunch of, just like for me, dieting, right? Like, no, you need to eat this food. You're gonna feel hungry and miserable forever. And then if you don't eat it 17 minutes later, you're like, oh, I completely forgot about that. But in the moment, your body tells you, I've never gone through drug withdrawal, but I'm assuming the same thing. It probably lies to you going, you're gonna feel miserable, tell you forever for hundreds of years. And it's not that. So how did you, even with the emotional part of you yelling things that were not helpful for sure and probably not true, how did you keep going? And more importantly, or equally importantly, how would you encourage other people that are planning to make a hard decision or in the middle of a hard decision and they're doing the thing and their mind knows that they're right, but their emotions are screaming like, give up?
I think that's the benefit of having someone like Suzanne or an accountability partner of some sort, because I had to get to the like true root of the fear. And my fear was, if I call my customers, they're going to tell me the truth, and good
Mm.
or bad. And that's what I realized, that I had a lot of fear coming into the position. And Suzanne and you and others helped me realize what I was truly afraid of. So if you're about to need to make a hard decision, like you need to figure out what is that fear that's holding you back. Because as soon as I realized that, it switched. Now I had to make the habits and continue to push through, but at least I knew the fear that I was facing. And so I would just, before I called a customer, I would like make the statement, they are happy, and no matter what they bring up, it will be okay. We'll solve it. So I just had to continue to prep myself. And I noticed that as I was doing that or making the phone calls, they were really happy. And it was small things like scheduling or a floor cleaner or whatever, but it wasn't the end of the world. They weren't telling me how horrible I was or that they were, leaving today. And that fear was so irrational, but it was holding me back from just taking care of the customers who had trusted me with their homes and to serve them well. And I was so afraid to like just pick up the phone and check on them.
And I gotta say, in my experience personally, and also coaching others and just observing other humans, it's probably 80-20. 80% of the time it works out to just like Caitlin said, where it's like, I had this huge fear and it just wasn't that.
Yeah.
And 20% of the time it doesn't. Like, I don't want to be like, just think good thoughts and it's going to work out great every time, because that's just not the truth. But I will say, when you go into it with the foundation, and I want to summarize the steps I heard you say so you can correct me or everyone can leave with a clearer picture. But when you go in it with that, even when you do end up in the 20%, which you didn't, you're better equipped. Like, I think I'm convinced that had you dealt with someone, the magic I heard from you was, I'll be able to handle it. If it's a little thing or a big thing, I'm just gonna sort it out, right? Like, there's some people that cut people's bodies open and heal them for a living, and if that has a bad outcome, like, that's I wouldn't know how to coach those people. But that's not it, right? Like, someone came home and their house wasn't how they wanted, which is important. I'm not saying it's a zero, but it's okay. It's not like, I was operating on this 5-year-old kid and something happened like that. I may not be able to recover from, but we're not, for better or for worse, that's just not not how we've chosen to serve the world. So the steps I heard is, one, and I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm twisting or say yes if I gotcha. First, don't try and do it alone, whether some sort of accountability or just someone to talk through, because we're going to do it in our head and just make up all sorts of crazy. And just having to say it out loud makes you go, well, that's not, maybe I won't say all the crazy. And then I shouldn't say don't do it alone. Have someone that you trust that's got some emotional intelligence, that cares about you, that there is some skill to that. You want someone, obviously someone that's a professional coach would be best, but if that's not you, be particular, not just any human. Like, you can tell your dog, but it's probably gonna be as helpful and we all have people in life that we know, doesn't matter what we say, they're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be terrible and blah, blah, blah. And so make sure you go through it with the right people or person, or, doesn't have to be 100, but at least 1, 2 or 3, maybe. That's what I heard first. Second, kind of decide what you want to do and just go, why wouldn't it be that? Assume that's going to happen. But if it doesn't happen the way I want, that'll just be okay as well. Now, am I missing any part or adding anything, or is that?
Yeah, I would say also, if you can recognize the fear that is holding you back.
God, I missed a big point. Yeah. Thank you.
So if you can do that and you can be self-aware enough to look and go, why am I not doing this? What's keeping me from, taking the next step? Then I think you're ahead going into it and you won't procrastinate and hold back.
Okay. So step 1, get some feedback from a person with the goal of identifying, like, what am I really afraid of? Like getting, like, just like I kind of inadvertently did. Am I operating on someone? Is this a conversation where someone's going to die or something? No. And go, okay, but I'm not crazy. It's not like there's no fear. There's nothing to be afraid of. So just identify what's really going on, and probably what's really going on versus what you're telling yourself is going on, and kind of see that there's a gap. Those aren't really the same thing. 3, just go, hey, I'm going to anticipate the good outcome, but prepare for the worst outcome. And for you, it doesn't sound like anyone was like, you son of a gun, blah, 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 blah. But if they had, you'd have been like, well, I didn't like that so well. And then I'll call the next person. All right.
Exactly.
Wildly helpful for me. I think the listeners, I'll let you have the final word. Anything you would like to say to your fellow owners out there that would be of value?
Yeah, I would say that I think the process of churn is really exciting at this point. Like, all the challenges and all the wins and losses, I've realized just the importance of every customer and like that responsibility that I truly have. And now not only I'm like, I want to protect what I've built. And that is every customer that I have, good and bad. And so it has made me recognize, I think, just the importance of those things. And that has allowed me the willingness to like push through and have those hard conversations, or love on a customer and maybe put in a little extra effort, like sending flowers or doing something that I wouldn't before, because minus, like, beforehand, I had no idea. So here we are, and it feels like such a win to have March at 3%. So
can't wait for April.
I know
we're in April. We can't wait to the end of April.
Yeah,
I love that. That was such a bonus, because what I heard you say is I shifted. I mean, Caitlin, I shifted from this thing I have to do for, I won't say my own selfish reasons, but for predominantly my churn is bad. I want churn to be good. You were able to move that to, hey, these are people I love. And it's not just like they're going to be pissed and they're going to hate me and there's nothing I can do. It's like, I care about them. And it's one thing if you're a scam artist and they caught you and you're like, now what is going to happen? It's another one. You're like, I'm trying my best. And if they tell me how to do better, I'll just do that. Like, it'll be fine. So it sounded like you moved it from something you have to do for your own benefit to something you want to do to serve others. And for you, I think I would feel the same. Maybe a lot of our listeners, that just felt better.
It does. Absolutely.
All right, Caitlin, anything else, or are we going to wrap it?
Nope, that's it.
All right, Clean Nation, appreciate you spending time and attention. If you love that, let us know. It's great. You want more of Caitlin, we'll see what we can do or stuff like this. If not, be nice. Feel free to share. Actually, you can email me, Mike@growmycleaningcompany.com. If you have problems, you need help, you got feedback, let me know. Love to hear it. Appreciate you. Get to work. See you.